Okay, bottles. We're here. Another little mini clip for the Puck and Sports Network. And no, I am not interviewing a ghost, but we do have a very special guest from SFW about to pop up. We've got John Franco Costa. There he is.
What's going on, Bobby?
Johnny, what's going on?
This was long overdue. I'm glad we're doing it, and you're teaching me this tech, or else I wouldn't fucking have a clue.
Uh,
Am I allowed to swear on here? Did the
you
same?
are. You are. It's
This
just
is your
going on
host,
YouTube.
Jeff. Okay, so I'm gonna let it rip. You're excited to talk about whatever you want. Football. I'm really into NFL. Uh, Leafs, not so much. Even though I am excited, I think you know what it is. It's not over it. Not over last year. So.
We'll get into all of that a little bit later on. But just before we go, John Franco has his own pod, SFW, very big, growing brand. Why don't you go tell us about it? What does the SF and the W stand for?
Sports, food, and women. I don't think I know anything else that well, so I stay in my lane and 500 plus dates later, single men. I ain't gluten free, so that's why I go by GF. I'm nobody's girlfriend, no lowercase. I ain't gluten free, as you can see. And if you don't like GF, get fucked. So there's a lot of things that go with G and F. It's because my name's really long in Italian, so someone changed it for me years ago, and I was like, I hate that. But then GF grew on me, and that's what it is. But the nuts and bolts, the food reviews, I'm gonna get into it. Could be something I make, my mom make, friends. But the nuts and bolts so far has been sports, and I am an analyst. I've spent my whole life researching NBA, NFL, and NHL, and it's time to see what I've learned over. I'm turning 38, so I don't know. Let's just say when you're a kid, who cares? When did internet start? 1997. I've been doing internet research for 25 years. I researched the hell out of those three sports, and diehard Leafs, Raptors, and Cowboys fan. But I know all the players. Like, I think what separates me from a lot of people, I think I can talk about any of the teams in any of those sports. Like Bobby's a Denver fan. We can get into that. Like, I take pride in, it's like, okay, now it's the quiz. What do you know about the Denver Broncos, past and present? So I like to do that. So
And we'll probably discuss my Broncos at some point. So yeah, sports, food, women. I know a lot about two of those and very little about the third. And we're not going to talk about which is which.
yeah,
For the food, for anybody that doesn't know, John Franco and his mom, very growing tiramisu business. If you haven't had tiramisu, yeah, it is
that's
unbelievable.
true. It's a thank you. I
Unbelievable.
appreciate it. We're trying. I'm trying to. I'm trying to make her proud this time. Sometimes you have to rebuild.
Totally. And then the women, I believe I was watching a pod with you and the two boys, your two boys there who just did a killer
Bianca,
job. Yeah, it
I
was great.
I should have had a few more ladies on. Unfortunately, I learned my lesson. One of them flopped. Like, she was acting all tough, and she was like 25. And we made great content, but she was very self-conscious about, her look and everything and what we talked about. So I need to make sure in the future, whoever comes on, if we're gonna talk about, sex and all the stuff that comes with it and swearing, this isn't a for the choir girls and boys out there. So, but it's fun. It's all for entertainment and humor at the end of the day. Maybe I'm just talking about things that people are a little bit, they don't want to talk about. But for me, I enjoy it. I think it's good content, and anytime we can poke fun at, me or anyone, it's all good. A little sex education too. You might learn a thing or two, but
Yeah,
back to sports. Okay, Bobby, get me
it
back on track.
it
Let's
was
go.
yeah, it's a great pod, so go check it out. SFW, it's on Instagram. I don't know if he has Twitter, but on Instagram at least. There it is. So let's talk a little NFL. So, we just finished week 5. I got a few things for you. I talked about my biggest surprise last week. Wish I could remember who I said.
I,
But why don't
I
you give
got
me
my
your
notes.
why don't you give me your biggest surprise this season so far in the NFL?
Okay, so the viewer can't see, but I'm just looking at some notes here. Jets and
Well,
Falcons, no. Rams and Seahawks, no. Lions and Vikings, it's sad the Lions just can't catch a break. What's a game to talk about? We'll get into the Cowboys one in a second, but okay, you know what? I want to start with the Broncos. You know what? We're getting into the Broncos and Steelers. That's what I want to talk about. not really about your Broncos, so I'll get to them in a second. It's more about the Steelers and the notion that Big Ben is done and he can't throw. This is all bullshit. The Pittsburgh Steelers, and I'm a Cowboy fan, but I respect, I respect all the teams, even if I, want to see us beat them. But the Steelers are a storied franchise, 6 Super Bowls. You got to give them their flowers. Big Ben can still play. He needed Najee Harris to arrive, and he has arrived. Maybe they should have a better O-line, but to say that a guy that has Chase Claypool, Deontay Johnson, I know they just lost Juju, but and there's Joe. We're talking Steelers. Okay.
He comes right in,
Hold on.
ruins the whole video.
Perfect timing.
Fine. So this is a good day for Joe. Steelers talk. We'll get into the Leafs in a bit, but I still believe that the Steelers aren't totally done. I think Big Ben can make one more run at it, but he needs. And Joe knows they drafted Fairmouth, the guy I call him Vermouth, the tight end. You have Ebron, so you got 2 tight ends. Najee Harris can do it all. He needed a little time to get going. And then you have Claypool, Deontay Johnson. I know you guys just lost Juju. Okay, fine. I think that there's still a winning formula there. Minka Fitzpatrick, that guy still makes a lot of plays. I think Dallas should have invested a first-round pick in him. The point I'm making is, as I ramble, Joel, take it away. The Steelers, if they're healthy, I still think they can make some noise in the AFC. Maybe not this year, but next year. But I think they owe Big Ben. Make this team as good as you can. Go for one more run, and then in 2 years, get a new quarterback for Ben. Floor is yours.
You're actually more optimistic than even myself. I got to be honest. If the defense is healthy, the defense is good enough to win games on their own. You saw that a couple years ago when Ben was out and they were starting Duck Hodges as their starting quarterback, and they were still winning games. They had a decent record that year, considering they didn't have a quarterback. So if the defense is healthy, TJ Watt is healthy, the whole defense revolves around him, because that guy gets pressure all the time. He's always in the quarterback's face, and everything else balances out after him. If he's healthy, you get pressure on the quarterback. That's when they start to create turnovers. You got Minka lurking in the back.
You guys still have Joe Hayden? Still have Joe Hayden?
Joe Hayden is there, but he's a little long in the tooth. Like, their secondary is nothing to write home about this year.
How about the middle linebacker? What's his name? He's
Devin Bush. Yes.
Cam Hayward. So you guys still have it.
See, Cameron Hayward, there is the defensive end who's incredible as well. Like, the defense is stacked, but they're not healthy. And that's what happened last year when they were 11-0. Their defense was healthy and firing on all cylinders. And then the injuries started to happen. Bush went out for the year. Bud Dupree went out for the year.
Yep.
TJ was banged up. Minka was banged up. Like, once you start losing these key players, you cannot replace Pro Bowlers with second, third stringers. Like, Pro Bowlers do not grow on strings. You know what I mean? They don't grow on trees. You can't replace those guys.
No, it does. So that, just to piggyback that point, that's why I'm telling everyone, chill. I'm allowed to swear. Chill the fuck out with the Steelers are done and Big Ben is done. Maybe next year, a couple of O-linemen in the draft, first round, second round. And if all of these guys come back, look, guys, it doesn't matter what team you cheer for. If you know NFL personnel, what we just mentioned there are a lot of Pro Bowlers. Some of them could wind up in the Hall of Fame. The Steelers have the parts. Just because they're hurt, I know I feel like I'm a Steelers fan, not trying to advocate, but try to get them healthy, bring the band back one more time, and then if Big Ben doesn't have it, you go to the draft in a few years. They owe it to him. Don't go to a young guy now. I don't think it's the right time. Let Big Ben finish on his terms. I think he deserves that.
So you would give Ben one more year after
this year? Yes, I would. Yes, I would. Only because I wouldn't say it, Joe. If you didn't have all the guys you mentioned on defense, I'd say, you know what, it's over. Let's move on. But the Chiefs have shown that they're beatable. The Steelers and the Ravens, they always go at it. Why all of a sudden, I think it's wide open. I think the Steelers can still win a Super Bowl with an old Big Ben Roethlisberger, everything we just mentioned, healthy TJ Watt, and I believe in Mike Tomlin. So there it is. I'm a Cowboy fan, now I'm done with the Steelers.
Here's the difference, though, and this is why I'm not as optimistic. When Big Ben started with the Steelers in his younger years, his first 10 years, the Steelers didn't have the best offensive line. But He was young enough and still mobile enough to move around in the pocket and buy his receivers time. He doesn't have that anymore. And so the offensive line is terrible. And he can't buy time for himself. And his arm just isn't the same as it was either. So he can't throw downfield as well. So all of these things contribute to just an offense that should be better than it is. But because they've got the receiving options, they got a great running back. But that everything stems from the offensive line. You don't have an offensive line, you're in trouble in this league. I'm telling you. Look at the Chiefs right now. The Chiefs are a terrific offense, but their offensive line has not been great. And when you get pressure on any great quarterback, that's how you beat them.
Yeah. Okay, so one quick point, guys. Sorry, Bob. We're going to get in a sec. I'm taking over this guy's show. No, wait a minute. This is just my thing. Chase Claypool.
Good old Canadian boy.
Notre Dame. I love Notre Dame. That's another day. 5 catches, 130 yards at a TD. Deontay Johnson, he went in on a deep ball. And this is a good defense, and that's why we're gonna give Rob's team some love in a second. They had a good week this week, 27-19. Big Ben threw a couple nice ones downfield. So I disagree with you. Not that, and believe me, you guys watch more Steeler games than me, but if Big Ben can transition to Tom Brady's still doing it, so maybe Big Ben can't be the old Big Ben. But if you invest in an O-line, he hands it off to Najee Harris. He can still throw that ball, guys. Chase Claypool, he's one of those number ones that it's a jump ball and he can win it. Deontay Johnson can burn you deep. If you had Juju can work the middle, plus you have tight ends. So I agree with you. He can't run around and do what he used to do, but maybe you apply the Tom Brady style to Pittsburgh, protect him, good O-line, good running game, good defense. I still think Big Ben can sling it around enough. And last week he did it. He threw a couple nice deep balls, and on Denver's defense, I got to give that credit, man. When you do it against the Broncos, because their offense I don't like, and we'll get into that in a second. Teddy Bridgewater's a backup, even though he's playing well, but they still have a Super Bowl defense. Hence, go get Aaron Rodgers next year, and you guys are in business. Now it's yours, Bobby.
I want to get Aaron Rodgers next year.
Yeah, the only problem with Big Ben being Tom Brady is that he's not Tom Brady. Like, Tom Brady is just, we need to stop pretending that like that's the norm. Ben Roethlisberger is closer to Drew Brees, where he took a beating in his career. I think the Steelers are in a lot of trouble for a few reasons. As we've said, the O-line is bad and he's immobile. If he was mobile and you have a bad O-line, you can kind of get away from problems. They don't have Mike Munchak anymore, who's the second best O-line coach in the league. I think they're a 500 team. I think they still have a serviceable defense, so they're going to win some games. But at the end of the day, I think in that division, the division is so tough that the Steelers are going to be like an 8-9. They're not going to embarrass themselves. That defense will keep them in games, but I think their window's closed. I thought it last year. I didn't think they were as good as the 11-0 start, and I think the window's closed on that side.
Which 8-9, like that's like no man's land. Nobody wants to finish the season 8-8, 8-9.
But
in any sport, you don't want to be
you
don't want to be a 500 team. You want to be terrible
because you don't get the good draft pick.
Exactly.
But you've got Mike Tomlin, who showed he can win now with even, as we said, the Duckman. He won with Duckman. So I think the Steelers are just too proud and too good of an organization not to win 7, 8, 9 games. But they're not good enough to get to the double-digit win, and especially in this absolute, and we'll talk about a few of these teams later, but an absolute devastating division.
Oh, for sure. Again,
on the other side, okay, go ahead, John.
No. What I was saying was if it all lined up, all the health lined up, and all the key players were on the field for the Steelers, plus the way most fans, we believe in Tomlin. We know who the great coaches are: Harbaugh, Tomlin, Belichick, Andy Reid. I'm just saying maybe they owe it to the coach and the aging quarterback to try to bring the band back one more time, only because now that Brady's not in the AFC, as much as we think the Chiefs own it, we're seeing that an injury here and a little bit of a sloppy defense there. The Chiefs don't own anything this year. Anyone can take the AFC. So I'm just going to frame it like that. If everything was rolling for the Steelers and Najee Harris keeps building momentum and they're getting a balance of running and the Claypool deep and if it all worked out, maybe they could make a run. But I agree with you guys in totality. the window is over, but I would still, that pride, that Steelers pride, try one more time, maybe another year. I'm being a little bit too much, but I just wouldn't want to see Big Ben go out, not on his terms. Try to let him, be on a competitive team until the end.
They're going to give him another year out of necessity because they don't have anything else. So he's going to get another year.
I hope you're right. I hope they do turn it around. Trust
This
me.
has been way too much of a 500 team talk. Let's go to the other side of the ball, Denver. I've been saying for weeks that, I don't think they were as good as a 3-0 start. I think they're a good team, but I have a rule in sports and in life, whereas when you play things safe, you don't really deserve, no risk, no reward. Teddy Bridgewater he was a really safe pick. Instead of being aggressive and going out, maybe getting a Sam Darnold or someone with a higher ceiling, they played it safe. And, I'm going to bang on the Vikings probably at some point. When you play things safe, it doesn't turn into success.
He's a backup quarterback, and I say that with respect. He's very capable, but for me, Teddy Bridgewater and Jacoby Brissett, Ryan Fitzpatrick, we can go on and on. You're just a solid backup that could come in and win a few games, but that's not what you want. If you guys get Aaron Rodgers next year, think of how that changes things. You got Melvin Gordon. I forgot, what's this new running back's name? Javonte Williams.
Yes.
So you have you have a young running back.
They'll have everything.
Okay.
Denver has everything. They have everything except the quarterback.
You know what else they'll have? They'll also have Justin Herbert and Patrick Mahomes in their division. My goodness.
Yes, but Joel, if you bring in Aaron Rodgers for those last 5 years, and we've seen that Tom Brady has probably inspired a lot of them, stay in better shape, chill on the booze. I could really see Aaron Rodgers leaving Green Bay and wanting to have that Peyton Manning finish, but better without the neck injury. Aaron Rodgers will be good until the day he retires. That's the play for Denver. You have Von Miller. You have the defense in place. You have young weapons, Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, Noah Fant. You're a quarterback away, and that's the play right there.
This was a lot of talk about a really average team. Let's go to Joe. You have anything to add to finish?
Have you guys talked about the Cowboys yet?
No, we're going to do that in a separate thing. We're doing Cowboys separate because we got Johnny here. Here's something else I want to talk about. Green Bay, Cincinnati. I did my power rankings, and since I've got my power ranking, my 1 to 10 is perfect. I've got it. I think it's going to be here the whole year. I'm finally nailed it. But Cincinnati is in that 11 spot for me. Cincinnati is a real team, and they are really, really good. And I'm surprised their O-line is held up. One of my biggest takeaways from Week 5 is I don't care they lost. Cincinnati is for real.
I agree. Joe Burrow, what's your take, guys? I think in a few
he's
years,
good.
He can be as good as any of them. It's that accuracy, the deep ball accuracy, the touch. He just needs to avoid the Bengal curse, which he already blew out his ACL. Luckily, ACLs, they've perfected it, but Jamar Chase, that's why they passed on Penei Sewell, which is hard to do, but number one receiver over number one tackle, sometimes you have to do it. So they have great weapons. Future looks bright.
I was heavily critical of their choice to pass on Sewell to go with Chase because you look at the scar on his knee and you think, this is the franchise. You got to protect the franchise. That should be priority number one. But Chase has been unbelievable. And obviously they have chemistry that's come straight from college and they've been able to carry that forward to the NFL. He looks great, honestly. It's just, can he stay healthy? Again, he's been taking some pretty big shots. I worry about the guy, honestly.
Yeah, but they're a for real team. I have a few other takeaways from Week 5. How do Miami fans not sit around watching the Chargers games and not freak out?
It's tough. Yeah.
I mean, I said I don't know about Tua, but Justin Herbert is an absolute stud.
Okay, can I throw this to you guys? Because I have many Cowboys fans, and I don't know if you'll ever see this. Well, maybe you will. I'll show it to him one day. He's overly biased to Dak Prescott, where I try to be down the middle. So he thinks that Dak Prescott's better than Justin Herbert. Floor's yours, guys.
No.
Well, I mean, right now he might be, but the ceiling for Justin Herbert is. I don't know. I'm a big Dak fan. I think Dak's awesome too.
I think
Dak's
been really good.
Dak started in 2016. Is Justin Herbert not a 2020 draft?
I think Dak's good too. Like
No, but I'm saying versus like who arrived quicker. What Justin Herbert's doing is impressive because Justin Herbert doesn't have as many starts as Dak, or then the Baker draft came in with Josh Allen, Baker, Lamar, Darnold. This guy's like, he just got to the NFL, and every time you watch a game, he's breaking records. Like per 16-game season, he's breaking a lot of records. So all I'm trying to tell my buddy is don't anoint, like he thinks Dak is right there with like under Mahomes and them. It's like, well, I like Dak, and I know Dak hasn't had the defense, but there's levels, you have to earn it, and I just don't think he's top 5 yet. My top 5 quickly, you still have to have Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady because they're older, but what they've done, and they're still great. After that, it's got to be Patrick Mahomes, MVP, Super Bowl MVP. And then after that, Lamar Jackson has an MVP. Josh Allen could have won MVP. Kyler Murray. Dak is in that mix. Deshaun Watson, everyone's forgetting about him.
Russell Wilson.
The Russell Wilson. I was going to say then the rub and tugs for Watson. So I'm trying to tell my buddy, Dak's in the top 10, and don't take that as I'm shitting on him. That's my quarterback, but he thinks he's like top 3, 4, 5. It's like, again, I'd like to hear from non-Cowboys fans, please.
Yeah. I would put him in that second tier, like in that second tier of awesome quarterbacks. That's where I have him right now. But honestly, I love Dak, and I feel like he's gotten better every year. And I was worried coming into this season with the injury.
Agree.
But he's been on. He's been lights out. He's been great. So
but you know what though? They've always given him the O-line's been solid. Zeke, by the way, for whoever thought Zeke was done last year, I shame on everyone. I was not on that. That's why I'm very proud and I like to stick it to everyone. He's averaging 5.3 yards per carry. Derrick Henry, who I think is the number one, is at 4.5. 4.5 is amazing. He's a bell cow. He gets more touches. But what Zeke has done this year, Zeke and Nick Chubb, to share the carries with Kareem Hunt and Tony Pollard, who just emerged, that for me is impressive. Because if Zeke had the touches and if Chubb had the touches, they could easily be doing what Henry's doing. But I'll still give it to him. Henry's the king. He wears the crown. But I needed to shout out Zeke there. Ezekiel Elliott's been disrespected in the past, and he's still a top 5 QB. Running back.
I was going to save my Dak Prescott Dallas stuff for the end. So I'm going to save my Dak takes for the end because I got a few other things that I think we should talk about before. Kansas City. I was sitting at All-Stars, I was watching that game, and someone said, man, this kind of looks like the Super Bowl where this guy's running for his life every play. And I had to agree. And it's like, I think KC might be done as like this perennial elite team. I think that O-line is in shambles. And if you have no O-line, I don't care. I think the world of Mahomes, I think he's the best quarterback in the league. But without an O-line, even him, I don't know if he's going to be able to overcome this.
But they can fix that, though. Sorry, go ahead, Joe. Go ahead.
Yeah, and overcome this with a terrible defense. That's the other thing. It's bad enough to overcome the offensive line, which he can do. They're still putting up points. They can put up points, but they have to put up more points than their defense allows. And their defense, terrible. They look awful.
Chris Jones didn't play. That's huge. One of the best defensive tackles.
Of course, sure.
I think the same thing, guys. If let's just say the Chargers win the division, if they can get healthy and get Chris Jones back and kind of, figure things out on offense, get back Clyde Edwards-Helaire, get Tyreek Hill to stop fumbling some balls lately, they're still the Chiefs. Because for me, for all of us, Andy Reid, Mahomes, Kelsey, Tyreek Hill, that's a core. It's a core that you're still going to win with. But I agree with you guys. If they don't fix the O-line or if the O-line doesn't come together this year, it's going to be tough. But Mahomes can still overcome it. You guys don't think he can overcome that?
I agree. Yeah, he can. He's incredible.
He's one of the
few that salary. I think that salary is going to hinder them to a point where I don't know if they're going to be if I had to pick between the two, I'd say the Chargers are the more dangerous team right now just because they can afford more players.
Herbert makes nothing. Yeah.
And even Buffalo looks a lot better than them too.
If you get into the playoffs and you win your division and you earn the right to host the Chiefs of all teams in that first round, like,
you're in trouble.
Come on, nobody wants that.
I think I'd rather play the Chiefs than the Ravens right now. I think I'd rather play the Chiefs than the Bills right now. Heck,
So you're saying
I
right
might.
now. You're
Yes,
saying right now. That could
I
change in
think
2
I'd.
months.
Let me tell you something. Their defense was always subpar. Like they had a decent defense. Now it's even worse. But they used to be able to outscore problems. They can't outscore their problems anymore. Like I remember, they were down 21 to nothing to Houston in the second quarter of a playoff game, and they put up like 35 points in the one quarter. They can't do that anymore. That O line's not nowhere near good enough. I think Cleveland. I think I'd rather play the Chiefs than playing Cleveland right now. That's how I think they're falling off. They're no longer in my top 3 of my power rankings, and I think the Chiefs are in a lot more trouble than we want to admit. And Patrick Mahomes is covering up a lot of their issues.
I agree there. But that's the thing. It's like not to cross reference quickly, but Carey Price covers up a lot of things
Yes.
for Montreal. He's one of the rare quarterbacks that can do that. So for me,
Yep.
as long as Hill and Kelsey and Mahomes are healthy, you don't want to face them in the playoffs because they can turn it around. They know how to win close games. Their defense was sneaky clutch on that run, but we saw last year they weren't good enough in the Super Bowl. But you're right, the Super Bowl showed us you lose your left and right tackle.
Mm-hmm.
Not even the great Mahomes can do anything about that. That's what makes football great. It's puzzle pieces. They all have to be there.
My last 2 takeaways, and it's the 2 places that I got to eat some crow because I was
You
very
do that?
wrong. Yeah, I do. I like to pat myself on the back. You guys know this. I'll pat myself on the back, but I'll tell you, Lamar Jackson is playing fantastic football right now, and it's not even the running. Like he's throwing the ball like an NFL quarterback finally.
From the
And
pocket.
yeah, and the Broncos basically had a strategy of let's try to keep him in the pocket, and he burned them. The Colts, I mean, he threw for what 460 yards. You probably have the stats there, John.
I'll give it to you guys quickly, and then you jump right back in. 37 of 43, 442 yards, 4
Like
TDs, no picks. Mark Andrews, 147 yards, 2 TDs. Hollywood Brown, after a couple of bad drops, he stepped up last week, stepped up this week. 9 catches, 125, and 2 TDs. So, yeah, Lamar needed that because that's the knock on him. Oh, he can't pass from the pocket. He can't come from behind. It was the Colts, not the greatest competition, but that's good for his confidence. That's good for the Ravens.
a decent like the Colts are not a bad roster. Right? Their quarterback play is average or below average, but like a
Wentz had a
pretty
good
good.
night.
Yeah,
Wentz
he
had-
did. He did have a very good night. But it's just, I'll tell you, I'm not ready to completely say I was wrong, but Lamar Jackson might be turning into a real player. And the last one was obviously the Dallas Cowboys. I didn't expect them to win this division. I hate to say this. I think the Cowboys are a good team. I think I have them as the 9th best team in the league. I think I think the defense is a lot better than we want to give him credit for. I think Dak is doing fantastic. I mean, I don't know if I'd put him. He's not top 5 quarterback for me. I'd probably say 7 right now, probably in around that 7 mark. But
I totally agree. I totally agree. So I'll give you guys again. We'll go through a couple of the numbers, then we'll get into it. So Dak had 302 yards, 3 TDs, 1 interception. The 1 interception, when a D end tips it and it goes up, it's a good play. Sometimes you tip your cap. What Dak does, that Romo, and I'm a Romo guy, he doesn't throw the bad interception in the fourth. He might give something up in the first half, but Dak is better in the fourth. So, and that's not me burying Romo, but back on track here. Amari Cooper's playing through injury. He's playing well. Dalton Schultz for our backup tight end who makes nothing. He's better than our starter, Blake Jarwin. 6 catches, 79 yards. CeeDee Lamb, he burned Bradbury, who was a pretty good corner. He burned them deep. Tony Pollard, 14 carries, 75 yards. Zeke, 21 carries, 110 in a TD. So I like that balance between Zeke and Pollard. Pollard has come on. Another one of my friends thinks that Pollard's better than Zeke. People have to stop doing this. Again, I'll give you one more cross reference. That's like when Cam Talbot was playing well in New York. Oh, he might take Lundqvist's job. People, there's a reason. There's levels to this. That's why some girls are 9s and 10s and GF dates 5s and 6s. No. I've done pretty well there. But the point is there's levels, man. Let's just call it fair here. You can't say that one is the same as the other. It's not right. Zeke is an established, goes to the Pro Bowl running back. Tony Pollard is the classic running back who he comes in, he's a scat back, but he's playing well. But people got to give Zeke his due. Now, before I throw it back to you guys, they beat Darnold, and Darnold has shit the bed 2 weeks in a row. I was never a Sam Darnold fan. You beat the Eagles, it's the Eagles, no offense. You beat the Giants when, have you guys ever seen that? Starting QB, starting running back, starting left tackle, starting, am I missing one more? I don't know. Maybe I think
they're missing a ton of receivers as well. Yeah.
And Shepard. So two depth receivers, left tackle, quarterback, running back. Dallas has taken advantage of the schedule. I know that they had a good win against the Chargers, but if you look at their schedule, when they play the Chiefs later on this year and the Cardinals, there's measuring stick games. You could keep beating up Washington and Philly and the Giants and whoever else is in their way. The Patriots, that'll be a good defensive test this week, but these are all teams that they should beat. So this is where I'm not Skip Bayless. I'm not going to come in here and blow 5 loads on how good the Cowboys are. I agree with you guys. A good team going in the right direction. They nailed the Micah Parsons draft pick. Trayvon Diggs in the second round, tremendous. But we did this with the Leafs years ago. Whoa, Marner, Matthews, Nylander. You don't get it done on paper. We have to see results. So they're a good team. They're not a great team.
Yeah, and I agree. Go ahead, Joe, and I'll tidy this up.
I'm always skeptical of the Cowboys because, and I said this last week, Bobby, like, yeah, they're 3-1 now, but they could easily be like 3. I wouldn't be surprised if they were 3-6 in a couple weeks, right? But I would be surprised now because this doesn't seem fake. They seem like a legitimate good team. And part of that is the defense has taken major steps this year. The defense was pathetic last year. And the defense looks really good. The Diggs guy looks awesome in that secondary. What does he have? Like, how many picks does he have already?
5 picks.
I think he has 5. And just being a Cowboys fan, you haven't felt that since Deion Sanders. And he'll never be primetime. But to have a guy, like, it feels like, again, Charles Woodson if he totally pans out. But it just feels good to have a real, like a Jalen Ramsey, someone like that. We haven't had that in a while in Dallas. I'm sorry. Terrence Newman and those guys, they weren't the real deal. They were good corners, but there's something when you have this kind of guy. Like, again, you guys have Minkah Fitzpatrick. How many guys have you guys had? Patrick Surtain hasn't done it yet, but he's good. But give me a couple Broncos guys. You guys have corners that – Talib. When you have a corner that can take it to the house, it's a different feeling as a fan. And Dallas hasn't had that in, I'd say, 25 years, so it feels good.
But think about it for the opposing QBs. They don't want to throw in that direction. It like cuts the field in half. You could only look one way, the other way that they're not in, those guys, right?
Yeah.
So
you guys have it with Minkah Fitzpatrick too. Sometimes it's not even the corner. Sometimes it's a special safety. Like if you're a Ravens fan when you had Ed Reed, it's like
or a Steelers fan with Polamalu.
And you're right. I forgot about him. Any bad ball, any ball that's a little overthrown or underthrown, they know what to do with it. So it's a good feeling. But as a Cowboy fan, I don't want to do what guys like Skip Bayless do. I feel good, but we're on to New England. We have to have a Patriots approach now. 1 week.
Remember when Stephen A said the Leafs are the Dallas Cowboys?
That was great.
There really are a lot of similarities. Like, you know, the Leafs have really cleaned up their defensive play in the last year. We'll see what happens this year. Dallas has seemed to clean up the defensive play. The offense on both teams is really good. The fan base, we know what it is. You know,
and the heartbreak. You know the heartbreak's coming.
Exactly, yeah.
You think it's going good, everything's good, and then at that right moment,
John Tavares hurt 10 minutes in. Yeah.
That clutch moment where the money's on the table, you know that they're going to flop. But, you know, there always has to be a new regime, a new day. It can't always be like this. But, you know, until they get things done, as much as I want to anoint Dak and everyone, you got to do it in the playoffs. Dak has had 3 good playoff games, even though he's 1-2. So I'm optimistic. He's not a flop in the playoffs, but he needs defense. He needs help. And like any quarterback, you have to break through. That's why Josh Allen, you know, he's been to an AFC championship game. So you got to, when I say there's levels to it, I think you have to earn the levels. Kyler Murray hasn't been in a playoff game yet. So technically, I should put him a notch below Dak. Even though I think he's a little bit more talented, you have to earn your stripes. And these guys haven't won the big one yet. They haven't even been to the Super Bowl. So there's a lot of quarterbacks that still have to break on through. And who do you guys think will do it? I'll just give you some names: Lamar, Baker Mayfield, Dak Prescott. Stafford's a little bit older, but now he's on the Rams. Dak, who do you see breaking through this year, next year, and hoisting the Lombardi?
I'm all up in the Rams. I really like the Rams this year. I like the defense. I thought it was a huge risk for Sean McVay to go with trade Jared Goff, a guy who got you to the Super Bowl, for a older quarterback who's never even won a playoff game. I thought it's a big risk, but it seemed to has paid off because Stafford has taken that offense to another level. So I as of right now, I have them coming out of the NFC. And I know it's early, but
Bobby.
It's I mean, it'd be hard not to say Tampa, but I think if I had to roll the dice, I'm going to go with an AFC team. I don't think Buffalo, although they'd be a popular pick. I would go with Cleveland or probably Cleveland. I think Cleveland's really good, and I mean,
go.
yeah, I like that. I know they lost against the Chargers, but that was they're a really good team. I think they're up there. I don't like Dallas is not going to win in the playoffs. Let's put it like that. But I just before we move on, I think that one thing nobody's talking about for the Cowboys is their O-line is finally healthy and as good as it was a few years ago. That's why Zeke's I think running a lot better this year. Is that their O-line had their issues in the last couple of years with injuries. Jackson. Sorry, who's your left tackle?
Tyron Smith. He's going to the Hall of Fame. He always has that big brace on his arm now. So,
and he had missed a lot of time in the previous years, but their defense is fixed up. Their O-line is fixed up. I think Dallas is for real this year. Well, who's your pick to win the Super Bowl?
To win the Super Bowl, definitely I don't see Dallas. Dallas can kind of sneak in and sneak up on them, but who's in the Super Bowl? It's easy. And by the way, when I was giving you those options, I left out Brady on purpose. That's so easy for anyone to say go with Brady. That's the obvious choice. Super Bowl matchup. All right. You know what? I'm going to say the Ravens. I don't know why. I don't know. It just all those injuries early, but you can't count them out. They have a great coach. They know what they're doing there. And Lamar's ready to break through. So the Ravens versus I'm gonna stick with Joe. The Rams, Matthew Stafford is showing that when you're a Lion, there's only so much you can do. Now you have Aaron Donald and Ramsey got your back. On offense, you have a great young play caller, McVay. You got Deshaun Jackson deep, Cooper Kupp, who he's better than I thought. I'll admit I was wrong on him. I never thought he'd be a number one wide receiver. Robert Woods is solid, so
the running game solid.
It's a shame Todd Gurley went down for them. If they still had Gurley, man, they would have had some kind of an offense. But the Rams are good. The Rams are good because they're coached well, and Stafford is clutch. I just think that a lot of people slept on him because he was a Lion. I was at the game where Calvin Johnson had 329 yards, which is second all time, and Stafford led him down the field, but no one cares because he was a Detroit Lion. So people got to give Stafford a good 5-year run in LA, and we'll find out if he was worthy of being the number one overall and if he has that clutch gene. I think he does have the clutch gene. So
I think the problem with picking the Rams is I don't even know if they're the best team in their own division because the Cardinals look like a really good squad. But
I would take the Rams over the Cardinals still.
Yeah. That's fair. Yeah,
I love Kyler Murray though. He's my favorite quarterback to watch. He's Antonio Brown at quarterback. He's fast twitch. You're never going to get him. He's going to the sidelines before you can get there. And because of that, I think he'll have a long career. That's where to go back to Dak's injury, Dak has to avoid that. You can't, unless the game's on the line or it's a playoff game or it's fourth and whatever, you have to slide. You have to get out of bounds. And I just think that Kyler Murray is like Russell Wilson, but younger and faster and really knows how to get out of bounds and get those yards. So I'm a huge fan.
All right, before we get out of here, GF. The Leafs, do they win the cup this year? Oh no, are they the Cowboys?
No. Tomorrow I'm going to call them out on SFW. I'll be down on location. I love Legends Row. Legends Row is therapy. I stare into like Sundin Clark's eyes and I'm like, what is going on here? You guys have to come back and save this franchise. But I think with all the injuries that the Habs had, maybe they'll get that last spot. But Matthews already with the wrist injury and not coming back. Marner, I heard something happened today. I have a bad feeling in my gut, guys, that this is the year they don't make the playoffs. Not that they have a shit season, but one of those, like the way the Blue Jays just missed. Again, I love to cross-reference. They were good, but injuries took their toll. And by the time you got to the end, you're like 1 or 2 points out of the playoffs. And I don't know. It's hard to make the playoffs every year. The Leafs have done it 5 years in a row. So I'm not trying to be negative, Leafs Nation, but something about Matthews. I don't know. I got a bad feeling in my stomach. You guys.
All right, GF, you said you're going to be down at Maple Leaf Square.
I will be there tomorrow pregame.
How can people see this?
I will post it on Instagram. I am getting better with the tech, everyone out there, but I will be posting everything on YouTube soon. I'm gonna sync all the same videos. I got a lot to learn here, guys. I'm the old fart, but I'm no matter how negative I am, I'm still a diehard Leaf fan. I'm going down there. It's good for SFW, but I like to engage with the fans. Hopefully we're allowed to. I don't know with all the COVID protocol, but no matter what, it's a new year. We're going down with the ship. Go Leafs, go forever. Hopefully I'm wrong and they win the cup like you guys think. But if they
I don't
do,
think that.
Oh, I don't think so
Sean,
either.
guys, I will double down. I don't have the money to afford what I'm going to say, but I'll do it anyway. Your children's first year of university or whatever, it's on the big guy, okay? If they win the cup, I got it covered.
I'll hold you to that, but
I'll do
I know
that
that's
too.
not going to happen. So
I got a dip, but you guys keep it going, and I'll be on soon again, man. This was fun.
John Franco, Thanks a lot. SFW, follow it. Really good.
Love
Thanks
you
for
guys. How about them Cowboys?